It can be easy to translate custom e-learning into another language thanks to advances with artificial intelligence. But how do you know if what you're getting is really best for your learners?
My word of wisdom would be, what is your ultimate goal? How much translations are you trying to do? Is this like a one-off, right? Or are you looking long term and, maybe this isn't the right long-term fit?
That's Nicholas Strozza, CEO of Interpro Translation Solutions. He and Chief Technology Officer Beshar Bahjat joined DaVinci's Angeline Evans and me to discuss how to select the translation solution that's right for your project. Next on Powered by Learning.
Powered by Learning is brought to you by DaVinci Interactive. DaVinci's approach to learning is grounded in 30 years of innovation and expertise. We use proven strategies and leading technology to develop solutions that empower learners to improve quality and boost performance. Learn more at davinci.com.
Joining me now are DaVinci Client Solutions Consultant Angeline Evans and our guests, CEO Nicholas Strozza and Chief Technology Officer Beshar Bahjat from Interpro Translation Solutions. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We are so excited to have you both on the podcast today.
And we're really happy to be
We're too.
partnering with you on our translation needs on so many different projects. And for those people who aren't familiar with your company, Nick, start out just explaining what your company does, and maybe if the two of you could just share briefly what your roles are.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can think of Interpro as the language people, which is actually our new tagline, which I'm really happy about.
Nice.
Because we're not a tech company, we're a language services company. So we're focused on, taking content from one language, usually English, to a foreign language and accurately translating it, leveraging technology and AI and other tools as needed. But the people behind what we do is super important. We have a great team here. A company has been in business for over 31 years and scalable to help on smaller projects, bigger projects, multiple languages at the same time, very much focused on quality and partnership. So a lot of what we do is e-learning, hence our partnership has worked really well since I think about 2017 is when I first met DaVinci Interactive. So we've worked on extensive projects, complicated projects together. So we really appreciate that partnership, as you said, Susan, earlier. And yeah, that's us. And I'm the CEO currently and really enjoy assisting clients and helping here and ensuring we have a good culture and we maintain our standards of quality and clients continue to come back. I make espresso in the office. So, kind of a turnkey title. But thanks again. I'll hand it over to Beshar.
I'm the Chief Technology Officer at the company. I've been at Interpro since 1999. So I've seen the company grow, but also the industry change. I'm responsible for anything that has to do with technologies. But even though we don't sell our own technological product, we do utilize and leverage technology, and we have our own internal tools that we use and implement in our work. So we always stay up front with whatever is happening in the ever-changing technology world, and we stay relevant to the industry.
Wonderful. Well, I am very excited to talk more about AI, which of course has woven its way into all of our lives, personally and professionally. But I'm sure there's a lot of myths and misconceptions that we can talk through when it comes to translation. So we know AI has made translation faster and it's more accessible than ever, but it's also easier to get wrong. And I know I'm nervous if the AI translation is accurate sometimes. So from your perspective, as professionals in this field, what's changing right now and how organizations are approaching translations?
Sure. And great question. And definitely AI has rocked a lot of industries.
Yeah.
When it comes to foreign language translation or localization, which is like ensuring translations are extremely accurate for someone who speaks that language, in theory, won't know it was translated from English. Like that's the ultimate goal of what we do and help our clients with. And where AI tends to miss is that level of quality where kind of like the IKEA effect. You can kind of know it wasn't written in English, but it still makes sense, even though I still break the cabinets.
Right.
So, overall, my gut take is, it's generated a lot of buzz and industry interest in what we do. So someone who maybe, didn't prioritize language access now has the ability to, hey, AI can help me get there cost effectively, faster. And then the accuracy is where the mystery is, where until they've done it wrong, or have understood like what goes into the process of a professional translation, it seems on the forefront an easier way to maybe do things. And in some cases, there are good use cases for
Right.
starting with AI versus a full, what we call a human translation, revision, proofreading. On our side, it's enhanced conversation. So we're having more quoting options of, hey, here's the full human Mercedes option, here's the Prius option with AI as a head start. Both are going to get you, out to the restaurant, but the experience to get there is a little different. So I would say it's generated a lot of buzz, and it's talking to clients on like what's their end goal. Is it really accurate messaging, or is it good enough? I've
Hmm.
seen that come up a lot where it's like, what is good enough? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think is good enough versus what we think is good enough? So definitely, larger companies are really investing in AI, and some clients are leveraging it internally, like using Copilot. Some clients are developing their own homegrown AI translation tools. So, it depends on the scale of what they're trying to do and if we can help them. So it's a lot of different things are going into it. We actually just obtained our third ISO certification. So there is, from a professional translation company standpoint, there are standards that you should adhere to produce quality. So we have a couple of those already for quality management and translation quality. There is another one called ISO 18587 2017, which is the certification for machine translation or AI with a human post editor, what we refer to as MTPE. So it depends on the companies, like what are they looking for? If they really want to get this right, but leverage technology in the right way to scale, using that kind of process, whether it's with us, a freelance translator, an in-house person, is really, really helpful to kind of keep in mind. So it's definitely made things accessible, given the perception of getting things done a little bit faster. And in some levels, it does. So
Mhm.
there's other factors that we'll get into today that I think will be helpful for the audience to know.
Well, you definitely have my wheels spinning, and I have a ton of questions. But before I ask more, it came to me as you were talking. I feel like we should level set the audience on the difference between translation and localization at a high level, because I don't think some folks consider that, and they think it's just always a one-to-one, right? So can you
Sure.
just briefly touch on that, just so like maybe some future questions and answers make more sense for them?
Yeah, no, 100%. So translation, essentially is making sure the content to a native speaker, speaks to them in their language. It's translated accurately. Where localization, in my opinion, is taking it a little bit to the next level. So that could mean, imagery, currencies, making sure that if there aren't like equivalent expressions in that language, there could be what we call transcreation to, make sure that we're aligning the source with the target language. So think of localization as like the next level,
Okay.
where again, someone in that language reading the Italian won't know it was translated from English. Like that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Bashar, did I miss anything there? Would you add anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, the localization is more about like the entire experience. So
Right.
it's not just translating from English to Spanish. It's translating from English to Spanish that is spoken in Mexico.
Hmm.
Tailoring it.
It's just like it has like getting it down to the local level as much as possible, and to have an experience of, let's say it's an e-learning course. You have the full experience of the e-learning course, not just like the text on the screen,
Hmm.
the subtitles, the script on the side, the audio that you're listening to. Everything is in your language, so that's part of localization.
Thank you. I think that's really helpful, and I think that also speaks to the quality of translation as we start diving a little deeper. So, there's a
100%.
there's a growing assumption that AI can handle translation end to end. What do you feel some of the biggest misconceptions you're seeing from organizations right now around this?
Yeah, I mean, AI definitely make things easy and convenient. Anyone can translate now. Actually,
Right.
but just because you can, that doesn't mean that the final product is what it's really desired. We have like the verb that we use right now is gisting. You can use AI to get a gist of what the text means, but to be able to get like the final quality, something like as you have a product that you want to present to your customers, you want to make sure that it stands behind with everything that you believe in, with your brand. It has the right translation. It's not just something that can be understood. It's something that can stand out.
Mhm.
Fully automating process doesn't guarantee the result.
Mhm.
Translation, again, is just one component of the localization process. Even though AI can handle different steps, but it still cannot handle the whole thing from beginning to end for you. So, again, just think of it of a simple process for translating a course. You'll have the on-screen text, you'll have the script, you'll have the subtitle, have the audio, and even if AI can handle all these separate steps, even if it can handle it with, in a way where it's a workflow where it's going to go from one step to the next and get you the final product, you still have to do other steps. You still have to make sure that it sounds good. So, for example, if you can do AI voiceover, it's not just about the words spoken in the target language. Sometimes you have pronunciation guidelines and things where AI by default is not going to pick up on its own. You need to make
Mhm.
sure that you have something in the process that catch all these things and guarantee you like the final output is something that you really want to present to your customers. The way that large corporations now look at translation using AI is this way. They try to break it down by language and by importance. So what does that mean? If it's something that done in a language that AI can handle well, then they will definitely use AI for it. If it's something where a language uh, that really doesn't have any resources available for it, so it's a low resource language where AI is not going to do a good job for you, but your option is like spending a lot of time, money, resources on this language, or just giving the user something that they can see, understand, they might opt for AI too because they can tell you it's not high end, but you get something out of it. The other side of it is the importance. So if it's something like, this is your brand, this is your marketing, this is your uh, professional communication, you want to make sure that it's not just AI, it's something that's reviewed by an expert. If it's something where internal communication and you just want to make sure that people understand one another, you can just run it through AI. So there are different components that define what level of human interaction is involved in the process and what is left for AI. All these things are factored in before the decision is made what to use AI for completely, what to use AI for at the starting point, and what not to use AI for.
That's so helpful as people are trying to decide, what do we use AI for? When do we need a professional like your company to step in? And it's not just budget that's part of the question. It's really that whole
Right.
experience. And
Yeah.
Nick, we've talked about this before. What experience do you want people to have with the e-learning? And at the end of the day, if they know you've put effort into making sure that it's
Correct.
accurate, it speaks to them literally, you're gonna get better results with the learning than if you
Yeah.
take a shorter path.
Yeah, and equity is important. Like, where if someone is looking at the English and that's a professionally written, well-developed course, and then the Spanish, just has captions or there's errors or, it doesn't look good on that company, right? So I understand that budgets are part of things, right? And we can come up with creative solutions, but at the end of the day, what is the end goal? What is and then work backwards from there and provide different options and pros and cons, right? So, the
Yeah. And so
good points.
to
Good
sum it
advice.
up, AI driven translation performs well in just the down and dirty, like word to word translation, and where it might break down is in overall, holistic
Experience.
experience.
Yeah.
Would that be accurate to say? Am I getting
I
that correct?
I think so. I mean, it's a starting point, right? So it depends on how good. So essentially, yes, there's some languages like Haitian Creole, Somali, Rohingya. Like there's some languages, Amharic, that it's just not useful at all as that starting point. It's better to just do it from scratch, or it's not even, a mature enough language. That might not be available at all. But let's say Spanish or French, where maybe it's a decent starting point depending on the subject matter, right? So
Mhm.
it there's a lot of factors that go into selecting the right tool that the right engine that would be used for a project. We've seen the most success with those more mature language models and content that is like highly technical, repetitive, or clients that have built a terminology database, a glossary of terms that are translated up front that are approved for that subject matter. Anything like marketing related, anything, safety training, high visibility, you're putting some stuff at risk. Like we're going to make sure on our side, as a human in the loop, as the language people, to make sure that it's accurate, right? Or if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. But again, it really kind of depends on the end goal and what is the quality expectation that the client is okay with, right? But it's a starting point for translations. Where it goes from there is depending on so many different factors. But it could be a human in the loop on the client's end too. They might have a SME who speaks Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
We would love to work with those resources, but having those resources, could be needed, a volunteer to just make sure things are accurate. But again, it's the starting point. But there's other tools with AI. There's other things coming up that do enhance the languages. So I think it's basically a starting point for a linguist to do editing work. The quality of that starting point depends.
Right.
I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I do think human in the loop is important in all aspects of AI at this point, not even just
Yeah, for
translation,
sure.
right?
Mhm.
Everyone's, moving cautiously and you can't necessarily accept everything you receive from AI. But especially so when I think about translation, and you mentioned this, Nick, in high risk industries. So if we think of industries like healthcare or compliance or safety,
Mhm.
the margin for error is so small because it could be lives at risk. It
Yeah.
could be like there could be a
Right?
lot at stake if
Yeah.
you're not training folks correctly. And so it would really make me nervous to rely heavily on automated translation. Can
Gross.
you just talk a little bit about your experience with that and why it's so important?
Well, it makes me nervous too.
Yeah,
That's
right.
it's just talking to it's again, it goes back to like talking to the client. So there was like a waste management company that we've worked with, and when I met the person who's involved with like training there, he was saying like, yeah, we do onboarding training
Mm,
in Spanish, and we use different tools, and the audience says they understand, like they're gonna check the box because they want the job or whatnot, right?
right.
But then they get hurt and like they don't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
understand, and it's scary because it might be
Mhm.
too late at that point, and it might not be like a big enough lift that people think to do it accurately. So we haven't heard any like true horror stories yet, but we have seen clients that pushed a button for automated translations, and you know it didn't get through their internal QA process, like something broke or something went wrong. But again, it's high risk industries are ones where we need to have that conversation. We've also seen some situations where, on on paper up front, we didn't think AI or machine translation would be the best fit, um, but it ended up being pretty good. So sometimes you don't know until you do the actual work. For sure, any client that invests in building a glossary of terms, has some kind of translation memory database as a starting point, wants to be involved in some capacity with their reviewers, you're setting yourself up for some success, right? But it does go back to the source English. And then, Susan, what is the end goal in mind,
Right.
right?
Right, right,
Right.
What are
right.
they trying to do? So
Yeah.
hopefully that answered
It
enough.
no, it definitely did, and I just even think about it from an accessibility standpoint, right? So as trainers, we want every learner to have the same experience and get the same value out of everything, and if someone does speak another language and it's not translated in good quality, you're taking away from that experience and from that accessibility component, right? And you're not giving them an equal opportunity to learn in
Correct.
the same
Yeah.
way. So it is so critical.
Yeah, I mean the AI keeps improving, but I mean there are like examples of things where it's just didn't get it right.
Yeah.
I know, like if you're talking about high compliance of healthcare. I think like there's a example of a pharmaceutical company that had a paper about hypertension. Uh, so the AI understood that the topic is hypertension. So it inserted the name of a drug that is not part of it, not
Oh,
part of the
no.
study itself.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
because just understood that no, this is hypertension. This is the drug that you use for hypertension. Just put it there. Yeah, it
Right.
can be scary sometimes. I mean,
There's
you
some
have
funny stories.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
It's
have like German language has like some really long words, long terms. So
Hmm.
I decided for one word instead of actually translating the word, just putting the definition for it.
Mm.
interesting.
So AI took a shortcut, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a funny story about a client that came to us, and I was like, "Hey, can you just take a look at how our quality is?"
yeah.
And they were like a manufacturing pump company, and the German, going back to German, ironically, it translated it as like women's pumps, not like
Oh
a
no.
Oh,
manufacturing pump.
funny.
So, again,
Totally different context there.
it
Yeah.
might not be good, and that would be like, "Hey, I thought manufacturing technical could be good for AI," and it
Right.
wasn't in that case. So,
Right.
again, these are funny stories, and it's all fun until someone.
Till it's not funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
So,
So, talk to me about some words of wisdom that we can share with organizations who are looking to embed translation tools. What should they be paying
sure.
closer attention to? What should they be looking out for?
Yeah, and again, these tools are being more and more enhanced with like what we call a TAF, translation as a feature, like Canva, Articulate.
Mhm.
You push a button, right, and it translates it, and it's all marketed as great. It's quick and easy. What we're noticing is, and I think the best thing to keep in mind, these are not translation tools. These are tools for design, authoring, whatever, something
Right.
else. They were not built with professional translations in
Mm.
mind. They might be using like a DeepL or Google Translate or some kind of engine, AWS, but still, the purpose of what that tool is for is not for translations. So, one of the biggest disadvantages right now to those tools is it's not building a translation memory. So, I refer to it as kind of like
Mhm.
the Wild Wild West. They push a button, Spanish, it's okay. They have a human in the loop, whether it's a professional company, a freelancer, an internal SME, edit it, right? So someone edits it, it goes live, whatnot. They update the course, or something similar comes around in Spanish. They have to start all over again. It does not
Oh, I
retain
did not
the
consider that.
translation. And
Yeah,
that's a
interesting.
key thing because, like, we've had clients now that came to us where they were working with a previous resource and they have internal reviewers that review the translations, which is really good to have to partner with that. And they were getting upset because they're changing stuff they already changed. Like they changed sneaker to shoe.
Yeah.
Like so it's time saving in the beginning, but my word of wisdom would be what is your ultimate goal? How much translations are you trying to do? Is this like a one-off, right? Or are you looking long term and maybe this isn't the right long-term fit because you're not getting those benefits for why you would want to work with a professional service of some sort, right?
Mhm.
People don't know that, and it's just having that conversation and level setting the expectation. Beyond has well said labs or
Mhm.
embedded voiceover of some sort, and it's good, and that might be a good use case. So, like
Mhm.
AI voiceover, one of my talking points today is it's getting a lot better. AI voiceover with a human in the loop is a really good use case for an AI process for
Mm.
e-learning. So, again, I consider it the Wild Wild West. It looks great on
Yeah.
paper, but you're redoing stuff every time, and you're not getting the benefit of working with a professional solution
Mm.
for what you need, short and long term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quick and easy isn't always the
Yeah,
best option.
exactly.
Something
It is inconvenience. The problem with this inconvenience is like placency. You know, you start to,
Yeah.
things start to slip without you even noticing.
Yeah,
Yep.
but there's pros to some of these tools. It's not like all negative. Like there's review access that makes some changes. Right to left, like Arabic languages
Yes.
are a little more streamlined. So it's there's pros and cons. You have to kind of weigh what Susan again your
Absolutely.
message. What is the
Yeah.
end goal,
What do
right?
you what do you wanna get out of it?
And with these tools, there is more translation happening than before, which may not have occurred if they had to
Correct.
so we are making it more available.
Yes.
So, as AI continues to evolve, how do you see the relationship between technology and human expertise changing in the translation space that you're working in?
Yeah, I mean, translation is actually one of the earliest usage of AI. Uh, that goes back all the way to the 50s. And the current large language models were actually made possible because of advancement in technology that was used first in translation. technology is there. It's gonna keep changing. It's gonna change the role that the human would be doing, the professional linguist would be doing. But that doesn't mean it's gonna take away the job itself.
Mhm.
It just like instead of your job now of translating 2,000 words a day, your job is going to be more of a post editor or maybe something like, you're monitoring the glossary, you're training the engine. You want to make sure that you have someone in the process who knows what he's doing or what she's doing that will be able to take the output from the AI and make it better. And at the same time, train the AI to make sure that the next time it does better. It's going to keep on evolving, it's going to keep getting better. But that doesn't mean it's going to take away the use of the actual translator, but it will just change their role. And that's like a standard thing with technology. Change is always going to happen. There are certain jobs that might go away or might just change the way you're doing it.
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes back to a book I read, which is really, really good, called Same as Ever. I believe the author is Martin Housel, and it kind of the main theme of the book is over the course of history, something is always going to happen that you can't expect, and you have to adapt and pivot, right? And it's important to know that hey, change is going to happen. Many years ago, professional translators were nervous when what is now called computer assisted translation or translation memory tools were out there. And man, is this going to take over our job? But what ended up happening is now this is the standard, and it's enhanced the quality of work that they were doing. So, I
Yeah.
think AI is just another example of something that rocked many industries. And with translations, what are the pros and cons? When is it a good use case? How are things that are changing going to help our clients? And just having those conversations and understanding, communicating the quality expectation and pros and cons and what you're getting so that, people are happy with what the end result is, right? That the worst thing you could do is offend someone with a poor
Yeah.
translation. You might only have one shot or a
Mhm.
life or death situation,
Right.
so.
So, where else are you seeing AI break down along the process? Like, for example, I know something that we've been investigating at Da Vinci is just the use of inclusive language with AI and just making sure when we're using AI models, we're being mindful of any biases that might come across in the outputs we're getting. Is that something you guys are seeing too?
Absolutely. So we're more and more as clients are interested in pursuing, we want to do our due diligence. And we have found out that AI does not handle inclusive language. And we have a couple clients where this is really, really important to them, right? Accessibility. And it would be more expensive to try to edit it in language than it is to just do it from scratch. So super big limitation. We're looking at other situations where the AI biases just cause issues, right? Bashar, you said you had an example
Yeah,
of like some
there
job
are.
professions.
Yeah, it's like if you ask, any AI to generate you an image of a nurse, it will be a woman, or an engineer, it will be a man. That's
Mm.
just by bias. They're trying
Yeah.
now to address it, but the problem, like, they're not addressing it in a real way, where it's like
Right.
giving it extra data. They're trying to say, oh, just to avoid any of those biases, make it the other way around, which doesn't even solve the problem. It's just like creates a new,
Yeah.
different way of, covering the
And,
issue.
and some less challenging things, but also important to know. It kind of goes back to like the localization example.
Mhm.
We had a client that developed an e-learning, it was healthcare, and they wanted, MTPE, machine translation AI with a post editor, into French Canada.
Mhm.
So anytime we do translations, it's with someone on the ground, immersed in the culture. Same thing with post editing. And when they received the French starting point, French Canada, it was mostly French, like Europe. And that's because these engines are trained for that language. So it
Right.
was problematic. It caused more headaches and problems. And if they didn't use a human in the loop, it would the Canadians that speak French, Canada, would not be happy with that. So
Right.
I think that also has happened, Bashar, maybe with Spanish, like Spain versus
Yeah,
Latin America. Maybe not as to that
yeah.
level of an
So
extent of negativity, but yeah.
generally speaking, a lot of the translation models are built with data available. So there's available data from English, of course, because, U.S. market is the major market, but also there is the European Union. So all the standard European Union languages are the main source for training these engines. So it's obviously if your European languages, your Portuguese is for Portugal, your Spanish is for Spain. So if you're using some model that was trained on EU data and for Spanish, and then you want to take that and apply it to Mexico or in Latin America, it's not going to give you the desired output.
Yeah.
A lot of factors, and a lot of it's case by case. But for clients that are looking at certain types of end messaging in mind, we need to evaluate: is it going to work, or is it going to be more problematic than a full human version?
Absolutely, you definitely want to be mindful of that ahead of time.
100%. But again, at the face of it, it looks, hey, it's faster, it's it's easier to do, it's accurate, and it might not be the case every time.
Yeah, this is good advice. I think as people are making decisions about how to pull AI into their translation projects, they're going to really be giving this some new thought. So thank you both very much.
This was super insightful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Good
both.
advice.
And this conversation in 6 months might be a little different than the one we had today.
We might be bringing you back on then.
I know.
If you'll have us, we'll be there.
I think we should plan for that. So thank you, Beshar and Nick.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
My thanks to Nick Strozza and Beshar Bahjat from Interpro Translation Solutions and DaVinci's Angeline Evans for joining me today. If you have an idea for a topic or guest, please reach out to us at poweredbylearning@davinci.com. And don't forget that you can subscribe to Powered by Learning wherever you listen to your podcasts.